The movie begins with Yi Sung, a full-fledged lawyer, who's inside the courtroom to clear his father's name for the wrong accusations of sexual assault and murder of a young girl. According to her, the court's decision was a mistake, and the allegations were invalid as she witnessed the whole scene. To convince the court, she tells them about her past. In 1997, a 6-year-old Yi Sung with her father, Lee Yong-gu, were having fun singing Sailor Moon together in front of a store. Yi Sung is attracted to a Sailor Moon bag on display in that store, and they have been looking at it for weeks. When Yi Sung asks Yong-gu to buy her the bag, he tells her that they will buy it immediately tomorrow after he receives his salary. Unfortunately, someone buys the bag, so Yong-gu pleads with them not to buy it and tries to grab it, but he gets assaulted by the police commissioner and kicked out of the store. After the event, the two return to their house. But despite being battered and unable to buy the bag, she no longer inquires about it from her father, and they're still happy spending time with each other. The next day, Yong-gu, working as a parking attendant, is having his break. Then he was visited by the commissioner's daughter, Choi, who claims she knows a store selling Sailor Moon bags. On their way there, an unfortunate accident happens where the little girl slips while running on the market's icy pavement. A brick drops on her head, killing her. He tries to save her when he sees her, but one female bystander passes by and misunderstands what he's doing. She then reports him immediately to the police for the crime. Later, they get him to the police station, where they accuse him of murder and sexual assault. The police ask him what happened, but he keeps talking about Yi Sung, who's waiting for him to get home. When he attempts to leave, the police beat him. However, when the media saw it, they put it out on the news that Yong-gu was the first to attack the police. The police also accused him of trying to get revenge on the commissioner by killing his daughter. In the morning, Yi Sung prepares her things to look for Yong-gu. On the other hand, on a rainy day, the police take him to the crime scene and force Yong-gu to reenact a plotted scene in exchange for a promise to meet Yi Sung, and they will buy her the Sailor Moon bag. Later, Yi Sung, also in the place, recognizes him and screams hysterically. She tries to get to him, but the police stop her, and the rest take Yong-gu. They didn't waste any time sending Yong-gu to prison, where the warden promptly beat him after learning of his crime. After that, they placed him in cell number 7 with 4 other high-profile criminals, Bong Sik, Chun Ho, Grandpa, Man Bom, and Yang Ho. After reading his criminal record, the other inmates immediately began to beat him. But they stop when they discover he's going on death row. While this happens, the authorities place Yi Sung in an orphanage because she's still a minor and has no family. Inside the prison, Yang Ho and his gang are working. They spend their working hours making soccer balls, using them to smuggle things into the facility from the outside and distribute them. Because of that, Yang Ho successfully established their gang's presence inside the prison. On the other hand, the other gang leader doesn't approve of this and attempts to stab Yang Ho. Fortunately, Yong-gu could observe what was happening from a distance and arrived just in time to save him. After that, when they're back in their cell, Yang Ho extends an offer to assist Yong-gu in any way he can to repay the favor. So Yong-gu tells him that he only wants to see Yi Sung. A few days later, during a church event in prison, Yi Sung is one of the choir that performs. The warden was watching the children when one of the guards informed him that there was an important call for him. Because of that, Man Bom manages to sneak Yi Sung in through a box. Upon seeing Yi Sung, Yong-gu gets overjoyed and hugs her tightly. Yi Sung started crying while she was asking him where he's been and why he left her. He apologizes for leaving her and explains that even though he's there, he's innocent. However, the time has come that they have to return Yi Sung. At first, Yi Sung hesitates to go with Man Bom because she wants to stay there and doesn't want to leave Yong-gu, but eventually, he manages to convince her. A few moments later, Man Bom successfully sneaks her out of the cell through the same box. Unfortunately, he was too late, and the performers' bus had already left the prison. Because of this, they have no choice but to concede and let Yi Sung spend the night. However, some of their cellmates worry that their sentence will be extended if they get caught sneaking her in. One day, they try to smuggle her out on a religious holiday to avoid punishment. However, they mistook the day and found Buddhist monks instead. At the same time, the warden receives pictures of the performers and notices that Yi Sung suddenly disappeared from one of the photos. So he instructed one of the guards to check their cell to determine if Yi Sung was there. The inmates tried desperately to keep her from being caught by the correctional officers. However, the warden eventually finds her presence in the cell, which makes him furious. So he sends Yong-gu to a cramped, uncomfortable solitary cell and returns Yi Sung to the orphanage. That night, a fire breaks out in prison due to a prisoner trying to burn his cell because he's jealous of Yong-gu, who gets to be with his daughter, while no one in his family visits him. The warden tries to go to him to calm him down, but a structure collapses, causing the warden to get trapped and almost get him killed. When the guards let the prisoners out of their cells, Yong-gu sees the warden trapped and immediately comes to help him. When the warden wakes up the following day, the doctor informs him that he came dangerously close to dying during the incident. He says that he was fortunate enough that Yong-gu came to help him. After hearing that, he looks at Yong-gu, who's on the opposite side of the room. He sees him lying unconscious with severe burns due to the fire. With that, he starts to think that Yong-gu has a good heart and that he might be innocent. Meanwhile, Yi-sung comes back to her school. She tells her teacher that she wants to see her father and wants her teacher to join her. When they arrive at Yong-gu's location, the teacher realizes that his father is in prison. There, Yong-gu is delighted to meet his daughter again. Upon learning that Yi-sung misses his father so much, the teacher doesn't bother them and lets them talk to each other. On the other hand, the warden is watching them, and he sees Yong-gu's bond with Yi-sung for the first time, which makes him convinced that Yong-gu is innocent. Later that night, the warden scans through Yong-gu's files again. Moments later, the warden learns that Yi-sung got sick after she visited her father, and he gets reminded of the death of his only son, who got killed by an inmate. Then, he intends to investigate the truth of Yong-gu's case. Later, he meets with the police, who took the investigation with Yong-gu's case. He looks into his crime files and finds his falsified sworn statement. He also discovered that the commissioner forced the police to rush the case because the commissioner wanted Yong-gu to get punished immediately for the death of Choi. Now that he sees the injustice that Yong-gu's facing, the warden picks Yi-sung up and decides to adopt her. He allows her to come in and meet Yong-gu in the cell every day after her school. The inmates spend their time together with Yi-sung, who teaches Yang-ho how to read and write, as she discovers he's illiterate. One day, Bong-sik enters their cell and looks sad because he can't reach his wife, who's currently giving birth to their child. So Yi-sung offers the cell phone she borrowed from her friend so he can call his wife and his newborn baby. One by one, the inmates form a special bond with her as they help one another. During their exercise, a correctional officer informs Yong-gu that his final trial already has a schedule. The inmates train him to win the trial and unite with Yi-sung outside. There, he tells his cellmates what he saw before the incident happened. He says that Choi was running, and the road was slippery. Since Choi went ahead of him, he lost sight of her, and the next he saw her, she was already on the ground with blood on her head. So now the detainees are thinking about how Choi came to be lying on the floor. While outside, they act out the situation and create different scenarios that lead to Choi's death. Then, they realize it's winter, and the girl slips into a frozen puddle. While falling, the girl accidentally grabbed a plastic wrap, making a brick fall onto her head and killing her. So seeing the girl unconscious, Yong-gu tried CPR to save her. But the commissioner forces the police to report it as assault and murder despite Yong-gu's denial. The next day, they train him to quickly answer potential prosecution questions without hiding the truth. Even though they find it hard for his illness, they're still confident that he'll win. From that moment on, they will suddenly ask him questions out of nowhere, so he'll be prepared to answer them in court by memorizing the words he has to say. Because he wants to be able to spend the rest of his life with Yi-sung after the trial is over, he studies non-stop to ensure victory. On the other hand, the inmates organize a petition to be signed by the other prisoners to assist Yong-gu in his trial. In the meantime, the warden goes to see the commissioner to persuade him that Yong-gu is innocent. In addition, he requests that the commissioner reopen the investigation into the matter. However, he's obliged to obey his superior, so he must accept the verdict. Later, Yong-gu meets his public lawyer, but his lawyer asks him to plead guilty to the crime. He tells him that if he must confess, he wants to save Yi-sung, as their opposing party is an ordinary. He threatens that the commissioner will hurt Yi-sung if he wins the trial. The warden ran to the lawyer to show him the prisoner's petition when he was leaving. Still, he abandoned it, saying that it won't help. On the day of the trial, Yong-gu and the warden leaves together. Before the trial, the commissioner manages to talk to Yong-gu privately. Inside the waiting room, the commissioner beats him and threatens to do the same to Yi-sung and kill her if he doesn't confess to the crime. In the courtroom, he pleads guilty to the charges. He sacrificed himself by lying that he killed Choi to protect Yi-sung. Everyone who defended Yong-gu got mad and couldn't believe why he had just confessed to a crime he didn't commit. Still, they think he's innocent at that moment, but they wonder what made him confess. The prosecutor sentenced Yong-gu to death. His execution date will be December 23rd, which happens to fall on Yi-sung's birthday. Saddened and sorry for what happened, his cellmates decided to get him out of prison because they believed he was the most innocent man there. So they devise a plan by utilizing the upcoming Christmas event. They plan to make a hot air balloon to let them escape. Since Yong-gu's execution is near, they work around the clock. They also request the other prisoners and Yi-sung's teacher's help to commence the plan. When the event arrives at the prison concert, Yi Sung takes her father's hand and invites him to the yard. The rest of the performers ask the prisoners outside to convince the guards that the event is ongoing. The hot air balloon in the yard is ready to take Yong-gu and Yi Sung out. As they fly away, the guards become aware of the attempt, but the prisoners and school teachers stop them. However, their attempt was unsuccessful due to a rope getting caught on some barbed wire. Instead, they use the moment to savor the setting sun together for the last time. In the cell, the inmates celebrate Yi Sung's birthday together. Each of them gives her a gift, and Yong-gu gets her a gift, the Sailor Moon bag she always wanted. Overjoyed with that, she thanks Yong-gu for being her father. However, their joy gets cut short as Yong-gu's execution is nearing. Before going, they thank the inmates for their care and efforts. The inmates are saddened to let him go but try to keep it together. They try to hide his execution from Yi Sung under the pretense of moving to another facility. As Yong-gu walks past the hall, the other prisoners feel sad for him. As they're about to separate, Yong-gu tries to hold his tears. He hugs her daughter for the last time and walks to his execution. Yi Sung starts counting and waits for her father's final goodbye, but Yong-gu doesn't show up. After hearing about his daughter, he hugs her wholeheartedly, shouts for help, and says he's wrong. But the prisoners and the guards can't do anything for him as they already gave him the verdict. Seeing Yong-gu crying, Yi Sung starts crying and asks him to stay, saying she'll visit him daily. After that, Yong-gu still got executed for the false accusations. 16 years later, Yi Sung returns to the prison and sees a balloon hanging on the barbed wire, and she gets reminded of Yong-gu when they were in the hot air balloon. In court, Yi Sung, the warden, and Yong-gu's cellmates all attend his trial to prove his innocence despite his death. The judge acquits Yong-gu by overturning the previous verdict and granting him a posthumous acquittal and a court order to reinvestigate Choi's death, to the joy of the former inmates, the warden and Yi Sung. The movie ends with Yi Sung having a vision of her as a child with her father, riding the hot air balloon. As the hot air balloon lifts off into the sky, she bids her father a tearful farewell. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this to help the channel out. Have a nice day.